To celebrate the fourth and final DLC map in Black Ops 6 Zombies coming up in less than a few weeks, Jeff and I decided to rank all of the DLC 4s in Call of Duty Zombies history for the 9th episode of Perkaholics Anonymous podcast.
What's up, Clutch Squad, and welcome back to episode 9 of the Perkaholics Anonymous podcast. On this episode, a little bit different of a format, but just walk with us. We are here to rank all DLC 4 last maps of Zombies games in anticipation of Janus Towers, The Reckoning, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be ranking all the other DLC 4 maps in the Call of Duty Zombies timeline. And we have an extended community corner here for you today. We had a lot of good comments on the last episode number 8. MZC and I thought, hey, we just, we can't pick a couple of comments here. We're going to see how many we could get through within our 90-minute show after we do the DLC 4 map rankings. MZC, welcome back to PAP.
Let's go to episode 9, favorite number in the entire world. So today's going to be a banger. Like Jeff said, we're going to be ranking all of the DLC 4 maps, including non-Treyarch for all of you non-Treyarch stands out there. And then, we've also got 9 community corner questions for the 9th episode. So today's going to be definitely a little bit of a different episode, but we want to kind of evolve the podcast away from just the constant whining and bitching about the current state of the game and into some fun things like this so that we can have some one-off episodes that are just pretty insane. I'm sure next week we'll probably have some teasers for Janus Towers or The Reckoning. Hopefully, maybe it's getting less than like 3 weeks away. So hopefully we'll have some more news over there on that front next week.
Hopefully they get us a trailer or something, or some new, sneak peek or snippet or something,
screenshots,
or cutscene or
logo, anything
anything, new perk, something, an overhaul, rehaul. I feel like we have to go back and look when we started getting SV stuff, but I feel like they've been kind of inconsistent with when they've been dropping stuff. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to it when we get to it. If we have to do an emergency podcast, be on the lookout. Not everything's set in stone. This is a weekly show. We're going to keep up and running. But hey, guys, if something drops, something drops. If we got to get on the show, we got to get on the show. Before we get into this show, let's get everything out of the way here, guys. Let's make sure you're hitting the like button. Make sure you're commenting down below for next week's community corner. If you like seeing your name up on the screen, if you like having this interaction that we could get through the screen from MZC and I over to you in the comment section, please comment anything down below. Something you hear about this episode, something you want to see in the future, how you want us to take this show in the future, anything like that, comment that down below for next week's community corner. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have the bell notification on. Also, just a little bit of housekeeping. The weekly show, we've been blown away. We appreciate you guys for all the support, the views, the outpour, the special guests, the likes, the comments. We cannot thank you guys enough. The amount of people who have not only shown us support, but have asked for more content has really, really blown MZC and I away. This weekly show, the 90 minutes, is not changing. However, MZC and I are kicking around the can on potentially some behind the scenes, some more content, and we're thinking about doing that over on a Patreon. If that's something you sound interested in, no commitment or anything, just comment content down below. We're going to gauge the audience reaction to that and see if anybody wants additional content over on Patreon or, as members only or something like that down the road. Just something me and MZC have talked about. But with that all out of the way, MZC, DLC 4 map rankings. Let's just talk like philosophy real quick. When you hear DLC 4 or when you hear the last map of a current game, like let's put ourselves in our shoes right now. Like, what do you want to see from the last map, the end of a storyline, so to say, in a zombies game, in the conclusion of a title? Like, what really comes to your mind when you think of that?
I feel like it's got to be action-packed, man. Like, I grew up playing, World at War, Black Ops 1. So for me, the first real good DLC 4 was Moon. Just, the sheer scale of playing on the Moon and then on top of, the actual Easter egg and stuff really set the stage with Origins. So for me, what I would have seen in a DLC 4, especially coming up here, is, a real good, an insane boss fight. Gotta go, best boss fight of the game coming up. I want to see maybe even 2 boss fights, a smaller mini boss like we had with Terminus, and then it leads us into the eventual boss towards the end. It's got to have good story. It's got to have good narrative. We got to have good cutscenes too. There's been a few lackluster cutscenes over the course of DLC 4s in the history, but we've also had some really, really good ones too. So yeah, man, I think it's got to be a combination of everything, which is really hard to pull off. But when they do hit on a DLC 4, you get some absolute bangers. So yeah, for me, man, it's got to be action packed. Got to have a good wonder weapon. Got to have a good perk. Got to have good story. Like you got to have like the perfect comedy. You got to showcase everything that you innovated in that game, right? Like every sort of innovation you made, it needs to be like at its peak for a DLC 4, in my opinion.
I totally agree. I mean, you're trying to send off the current title that you're on, and I feel like The Reckoning, Janus Towers has a lot to live up to, and that's why, I mean, you're going to have this discussion, because it's like, where is this map going to rank? And when we revisit, you know, probably 3, 6, 9, 12 months, where does this final map of Black Ops 6 fit in with the rest of the DLC 4 maps that we've gotten in years past, or just the final conclusion of some of these games? So guys, if you see me looking down, I'm taking notes. I got everything right here. Let me tell you what we're going over here, because we pulled some audibles here. We just thought, might as well include everything. So let me give you guys the list, then we'll give you the rationale, and then we'll get into it. So we got Derice, Moon, Origins, Descent, Revelations, Beast from Beyond, Darkest Shore, Togder Toten, Forsaken, and Archon. So we're ranking everything. Doesn't, you know, non-Treyarch, everything. Derice, we included it because even though it's technically DLC 3, MZC will remind the viewers and me plenty times again, Kino was supposed to be the DLC 4 for that game, but just got pushed off to Black Ops 1. That's fine. We know that's part of the lore. Love it. Derice was technically 3, but it was the conclusion of that game, so we want to include it. Then, like I said, we're going to come back. Janus Towers, we'll fit it in here. We'll tell you where it ranks, where we think it ranks from here. We're not really going to have a whole lot of commentary on the non-Treyarch maps, but we wanted to include them just in case there were some people out here, oh, you didn't include this, you didn't include that, whatever it may be. Might as well go for the gusto off rip and not have to circle back to it in the future. So how do you want to do this, actually? We didn't really even talk about how we wanted to do this. Do we want to go just reverse order, like the worst to best, or you want to go... You want to just, like, are we doing tiers? Are we doing 1 through? How many we got here?
I've got them in a tier list right now. Okay. I don't think I'll do like a live where I'm individually placing one in each tier. Maybe at the end I'll put it up on screen and we'll take a picture of like the final product here. But let's just go from World at War all the way up to Vanguard, because that's where we're sitting in the timeline currently. So let's start with Derice and then work our way up.
Okay, sounds good. I think Derice... And this is just our opinion. We're not going to lay out, maybe in the future we'll lay out like specifics, like rate the, I don't want to break it. We're not going to lie to you guys. We're not that prepared for this type of locked in, discussion as far as what, but in the future, if you guys want to see it, where we do Wonder Weapon out of 5 stars, atmosphere out of 5 stars, perks out of 5 stars, and give everything a culminating rank. I think that's something that we're probably doing in the future for the next ranking that we do on the show, but with 10 maps, with a lot going on, with a lot of moving pieces, with some maps, we didn't play a whole lot of. We didn't think this was the best time to really break out that ranking system, but that's something we could do in the future. Or if you have any suggestions, some improvements for the ranking, let us know in the comments below. But Derice a fan favorite. I don't know. We can't. I gotta have Derice in at least the top. I mean, top 5. I know is not saying much out of 10, but it's like, hey, Derice is up there for me. I think Derice is an absolute banger. Am I gonna put it higher than Moon or Origins? Probably not, which we'll get to and talk to. But as far as the non-Treyarch maps, it has to go above that for me. Probably goes above Tag for me. It's on par with Revelations, my opinion.
I think it might, just for the actual like map itself and the time period that came out in, I think I'm gonna put Derice. Like I'd be okay with putting it like bottom of S tier. Like I know it's not in comparison to the other maps, like on the scale of Revelations.
Bottom S,
or
I don't know if it's that good. All
right, but like think about back. You gotta let's separate where we are today to where we were back then. Like Derice was talked about as one of the best maps up until like Black Ops 3, like through World at War, Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2, everyone was like, Derice is a classic. It's one of the best maps of all time. It innovated Pack-a-Punch, it innovated the teleportation system. A lot of those were things that we hadn't seen before. Shindo Numa, the biggest innovation was that they had the randomized perks. Derice, it was like a just massive step forward in the innovation category. It had the wonder weapons, although they weren't specific to, Derice. They came out in Shindo Numa, but dude, overall, like the setting, the storyline is when that really picked up. You know, we started getting the radios around the map that were more detailed than like one or two here or there. It was actually like this whole story with Dr. Maxis and Richtofen and Samantha really planted the seed for the future of Black Ops 1 Zombies. I feel like that was more of a Black Ops 1 map than it really was a World at War map. Like if you had switched Doris and Kino, I know chronologically, yeah, it wouldn't have been like, it would have like really, they came at different periods. Obviously, Doris was first, and they went to Kino afterwards. But in terms of like the gameplay elements, I think that Doris would have been more equipped and on par with like Ascension than a World at War map like Verrucht or Shinonumas. Like I'm okay. Like at top A tier, I think is where I was prepared to put this. But
yep.
Okay, let's just do top A tier then. Like literal, like very tip top of A tier, honestly, in my opinion. And would you agree with that?
Which, believe it or not, like if we're putting Doris in A tier, I think there's like an inside shot, even though I just kind of talked you out of S with it, which is interestingly enough. But like, is Doris a top 3 DLC 4 map?
Looking over these, I mean, if you're just like taking the context of it being a World at War map and how long it sat as one of the better Call of Duty Zombies renditions or maps, like I'd say potentially, yeah. I mean, maybe when we get on to some of the rankings down here in the future, it might move down a spot or might get bumped to the bottom of A tier depending upon what other maps pull up here. But there's potential for it. I'm not gonna lie, I actually think so. Yeah, even today.
Fair enough, and I think a lot of people would. And I know this is crazy to say because it's like what year did Doris come out?
I think 09.
And I know this is so weird, like, you know, the halls of history, like you just have to walk the halls of history infinitely. But would anybody in the community be upset if the level at the time of Doris in 09, at that level of innovation, if you could just transcribe that level of innovation for 2025 zombies? I don't know if anybody would be upset if the Reckoning was like a Doris level map as far as innovation and storytelling and uniqueness. So I mean, I think Doris is it's like a good, you know, it's like a good egg. Like you want to strive to be Doris if you're a DLC 4.
It doesn't even like feel, I mean, I mentioned that earlier, but it doesn't feel like a World at War map at all. It did have like the first ever Easter egg too, like mainline step-by-step sort of Easter. I mean, it wasn't like an achievement or there wasn't like a massive reward for it, but I mean, you did have the fly trap. Then that kind of gave you some more Samantha, just like voice quips and whatnot. So like, yeah, Doris was really the groundwork for all of the Black Ops 1 maps to come. And then even into the future, it gave the blueprint of like, okay, you know, more of a side Easter egg that most people don't know about. But if you do figure out it's something cool to do, you got the wonder weapons, you got the pack-a-punch, you got the teleporters, you got the power-up spawning from the teleporters, you got the atmosphere, you got the story. Like it was good. And I think it's kind of not getting lost to history because everybody remembers Doris and everybody remembers the Giant, but definitely I think underappreciated, at least when it comes to DLC 4s or last maps of a game. I know it's not technically DLC 4, but we're going to count it as such.
All right, off to a hot start. Where do we want to move to next? We want to move to Moon?
Yep, let's just jump right to VO1.
Okay, fair enough. So me and you are going to disagree about this, even though we both like this map. I think you speedrunning this Easter egg might have maybe turned you off to this map a little bit, even though that was a fun time, and those streams are enjoyable. If you guys out there listening or watching have not gone and checked out MZC's, you know, trying to speedrun that Easter egg, it's hilarious, honestly, because it's an annoying Easter egg. But we've had some good last maps of some of these games over the years because I personally love Moon. We'll talk about where it needs to go, but I love it.
Yep. I feel like with Moon, I remember it coming out, dude, like the hype for a zombies only DLC. A lot of people forget that Moon was actually attached to the World at War maps that were in Black Ops 1. So if you owned like the hardened edition of the game and had those maps prior to the last DLC coming out, Moon was actually free. But yeah, it was the fourth and final DLC of Black Ops 1. It was a zombies only DLC. Was the best-selling DLC in Call of Duty history, I think, until Chronicles came out. So, you know, a lot of people loved Moon. A lot of people love those classic maps. When it comes to Moon itself, at least for me, like I think the Pack-a-Punch area is iconic. Absolutely insane innovation there. You got the teleporter up to the moon. The moon itself is literally just insane, like just a crazy map to kind of get, like nobody actually thought we were going to be going to the moon. There was no back then there were like no leaks for the game. Nobody had any idea where we were going, but just like the ability to play out on the surface of the moon, have the innovation of the PES or PDS system where you'd have to put it on every time you step outside of the labs. You got to make sure that the windows aren't being blown open so that things don't get decompressed. That was probably the most convoluted Easter egg we had to that point. The egg, say what you want about it, I really enjoy it, even though it is like basically just box RNG, and it's either going to be done in 30 to 45 minutes or 2 hours of you rolled in the box, especially back in Black Ops 1 with no gums. I thought the Easter egg was fantastic. The ending was unbelievable. Like, it left us off on a good cliffhanger for Black Ops 2, but it also tied up a lot of loose ends through the story. You had Richtofen versus Samantha, the soul swapping. Like, overall, like, Moon is fantastic. My only gripe with it is the gameplay of Moon. I don't really like the layout of the map. I don't really like, there's not really any iconic training spots. The only way to get to high rounds on Moon is to sit in a corner with the wave gun and hack every drop that you possibly can for a max ammo. I'm not really against Moon here. Like, my only gripe is really just the actual gameplay itself. I was not a fan of how you play the map really outside of doing the Easter egg and just enjoying it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Moon? Anything I haven't covered yet?
It kind of sounds like you want to put it like maybe in A behind Doris.
Dude, again, like, everything's kind of like very subjective here, because like, again, Moon was 2 years past Doris. You'd have all the innovations that Black Ops 1 had made. So like, objectively, like, I think Moon might be a little bit of a better map overall when you're including like atmosphere, Easter egg, all that stuff. But I mean, the Easter egg honestly is pretty frustrating, and it was frustrating back in the day, especially on Black Ops 1, where you couldn't spawn in fire sale gobblegums, and you couldn't fight. Like, Moon really glue up with Chronicles, but that's not how it played when it came out on Black Ops 1. So like, yeah, I'd be okay with putting it A tier behind Doris, just like the overall scale of the map. And some people can be like, how the hell would you put Moon behind her? But like, I really do think that the Black Ops 1 version of Moon is a little bit sus.
And guys, this isn't rage bait. This isn't engagement farming. Like, we're being genuine. We're being transparent with you guys. If you disagree, we want to see everyone's rankings in the comments below, honestly, because there's a lot of maps here. There's going to be a wide ranging opinion. I think just bringing it back to modern day zombies, like, Moon is just such a far cry from what we have now, regardless of if you want to say that's positive or negative, because I just couldn't imagine Treyarch throwing something out there where like a modern Easter egg, and you just have to sit there and hope for the box.
Yep.
So, but to me, that's what, when people look back on Moon, it seems the fondness of it, where it's, people could actually talk objectively about some of these maps where there were clear glaring issues. There was cool innovations, PhD flopper, stuff like that. And, everything that's what am I talking about? Not flopper, but, thinking of Ascension, funnily enough, but, there was interesting stuff there where you had the spawn room, and you had Gersh devices, and you had the Easter egg was amazing. You had the probably the best ending cutscene, or one of the best endings to an Easter egg, even though it was an annoying egg hunt. But the community would be going crazy for a Moon style Easter egg right now if that was the payoff that you actually got. Where I feel like in this game, MZC, the most convoluted Easter egg step I could think of in this game is not even the step. It's the Sentinel artifact boss fight, where we didn't really know how to do damage on it right away. Like, it just isn't like that anymore. And that's where I feel like the discussion comes up, where it's not even really the same game. So comparing Moon to what we have now, they're not even the same philosophically. So it's so tough to rank these maps, like you said. But I mean, a lot of cool innovations, cool wonder weapon, cool, side stuff to do. And yeah, I mean, right behind Doris, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think I have to put it up there too. And like you said, it is such a far cry from what we have nowadays in terms of like maps, like even Citadel, although it is completely different from a like outpost or a like laboratory kind of map, like what we've seen with Shattered Veil or all of Cold War or Terminus. Like, man, I hope next year all those leaked maps really do come true, because there is the Dark Ether space station in there. I don't think it would be a Moon remake, but it would be cool to finally have just like some maps that are completely different from anything that we've seen over the last 10 years in terms of like what's actually going on. You know, you have the low atmosphere. I don't know. Yeah, I'm cool with putting Moon behind Duriz and A. The more we sit here and talk about it, I can see it being ahead of Duriz. Like, these are interchangeable for me. But again, I think that where a lot of my recent love for Moon stems from Chronicles and just having the ability to use Gobblegums to open up the entire map immediately, or, you know, get stuff from the box at a easier pace than continuously spending points over and over and over again. Because back in the day, you either got what you needed like early on in the game and you got really lucky with the RNG, or you were sitting there for 2.5 hours trying to spin the box for the shit that you needed, especially if you were in 2-player. Or I remember like back in the day, dude, like I'd be playing with 3 or 4 people, and like 2 people would get the Gerst devices, and then somebody who had the Gerst device, and like, or let's say like one person got the Gerst device, you need the QEDs. The person that would be spinning the box with the Gerst devices would get the QEDs, and you're like, fuck, I gotta trade these out, and now somebody else has to go get the Gerst. Like, it's just a little frustrating back in the day, but I mean, I'm fine with where it's at.
Fair enough. I mean, just some absolute bangers off the rip, and you are right. Chronicles puts a lot of those maps in a better light, but I still think that's like relevant to include, in my opinion. You have to include the Chronicles renditions of them, so that's something to keep in mind moving forward. All right, Moon. So Duriz 2009, Moon 2011, Origins 2013. Maybe the most is Origins super polarizing in the community, like how me and you talk about it, or is that just a you thing? You think it's universally pretty loved?
Grow the community, I think, is where Origins makes, you know, hits its stride there. But from a map perspective, like, what do you think gameplay wise here?
The gameplay is amazing. Besides the mud, I think everyone can agree with that. Gameplay is amazing. Atmosphere, and your favorite word, aura, absolutely amazing. To me, here's the thing, and I don't, there's obviously never going to be confirmation of this. I think Origins, and I know you might disagree about this, I think Treyarch took a lot of the how they set up the Easter egg on Origins as to how they think about modern Easter eggs. Some parts of it, building wonder weapons, all the different like sequential, that map is very sequential to me. And it has some of the side stuff where I feel like that is kind of their blueprint. And I'm saying this, and I'm not comparing Modern Zombies to Origins. Don't get me wrong here. I'm just saying, philosophically and thematically, Modern Zombies is like the really base level thought process of how a lot of stuff in Origins is. Whether it's how you turn on the power, whether it's the side quests and stuff where you could get some different stuff around the map that makes you more lethal. The size of Origins is definitely something that I think is polarizing, but I mean, you have dig spots in this game, you have shovels in this game, you know, that's something that Origins put a big emphasis on as far as, hey, this is going to be a big mechanic in this map. So I think the real baseline of how Origins functions as a map is how they are taking some of their inspiration for how they're building out these modern Easter eggs, even though the quest is a lot more, you know, streamlined than it has been in the past, even though that the steps are, you know, obviously easier and things of that nature. But I think Origins really deserves S tier, not only because I'm an Origins truther, but I think it paved the way for a lot of what we see in Modern Zombies today. And I don't know if a lot of people think of how the title has been altered positively, you know, because of Origins and what that map really brought to the table.
Yeah, I agree with you completely with everything you just said, man. Like I'll give it S tier as well because I know it's influential. I know it paved the way for not only Black Ops 3 but future titles and modern titles as well in terms of like how they kind of get the blueprint for Easter eggs. I don't think it's in my personal top 5 because I just don't like. I get like the wonder weapons are amazing, the staffs are amazing, the side quests are amazing, the G strikes, the thunder punches, like all that stuff is really really sick and stuff. Like that's what they need to bring back today is those like map specific things that you can do outside of a shield that just give the map more personality, because G strikes are only on Origins, the thunder punches are only on Origins, so it's like, you know, if you want to play those mechanics you have to go back and play that map. So I really like what Origins did there. I don't like the layout of the map. I think the mud is really annoying. There's not an iconic like training spot on the map. I know like you can camp in the tunnels and that's the strategy of Origins, but there's not like the, you know, people want to talk about, all we do is sit in a corner in Modern Zombies. Like Origins was the same way. There was no, I mean, you could run around the generator, but at the same time, it wasn't like iconically like, oh, Generator 3 is like one of the top 5 training spots of all time. Aside from the layout, like the fast travel with the tank, again, map specific element, really, really cool. But I feel like it's just faster to run from one side of the map to the other than getting on the tank. Like it's not this like super amazing fast travel. And then my only other gripe with the map, well, two other gripes. One is that the portals don't stay open. It's annoying as shit if you leave the gramophone in one spot or you just forget it or you think you pick it up and you accidentally put it back down and you got to run across the map to go get it again. I think after you upgraded a staff or at least grabbed the first crystal, that portal should have stayed open. It would have made the map infinitely better where I could just run from, you know, the church over to the fire thing. It would have created great strategies for speedrunning. Just the map itself would have been much better that way. And then the Easter egg itself, like, I think is really just a pain in the ass. Like, I like it. It's an experience. It's fun to do every once in a while because it is this like massive setup of building and upgrading all the staffs and then doing these sequential steps that you have to be locked in for every single time. But yeah, like a long-winded answer. It's absolutely S tier. There's no debate about it. It has to be an S tier map. It's too influential. It's done too much for the zombies mode altogether. It's an amazing map. The ending is a little weird too, but like my gripes aside from it, I just wanted to put it out there. It's an S tier map. There's no other way to slice this one.
You have to respect Treyarch for this back-to-back run because for video games, thinking of video games 2011, 2013, you have to respect Treyarch for basically saying, hey, if you're not paying attention for Moon or Origins, you're not going to be able to you're not going to have a good time, maybe, 1, and 2, you're not going to be able to figure this stuff out. Just the funniest thing that you said, just leaving the gramophone, you better be paying attention to what you're doing, where you're at, and where you need to go on Origins, and I think that makes it so much better. But what you don't have maps that, especially DLC 4s, which we'll talk about here, you know, we're starting off hot here. Shout out to Treyarch here. It feels like it probably only gets a little bit downhill from here, which is fine. We'll talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, but what maps, let alone DLC 4s, what maps really hit on all the main talking points at like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 hit rate like Origins does? Gameplay, atmosphere, innovation, the significance of the story, you know, the fan reception, and all, just everything. It's amazing. I know I could fanboy here for Origins for days and days and days, but yeah, S tier definitely deserved. But let's move it along. All right, where do we want to go next? Descent? 4th? What is this, 4 already?
Yeah, let's do all the non-Treyarch maps now just to get them out of the way. Because to be honest with you guys, like I played a ton of Advanced Warfare Exo Zombies back in the day. It's been such a long time since I've played Descent. I actually just got Advanced Warfare on Steam during the summer sale, so I'll probably be doing some, like maybe either videos at some point over there or just getting the gameplay over there and like revisiting these maps. My opinion might change here, but we're going to go through Descent, Beast from Beyond, and the Frozen Dawn like this really quickly. For Descent, I remember the Easter egg being extremely tedious and not being like a fun time to complete. You know, the map itself though was pretty sick. I think this is the one where you start out in like this little, like, not really an oil rig, but you like start out in the middle of the ocean in like a really dark, stormy environment, and then you go down and it's like the closest thing to Atlantis we've had in an official Call of Duty Zombies map. It's an underwater facility, really like just insane like visual map when you think about it, especially for it being Advanced Warfare. But I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay loop in Advanced Warfare with like the 20-25 pack of punches, the upgrade, the rarity. This weapon had the Trident, or whatever that was for the Wonder Weapon. Like, I don't know. It's been a while since I played Descent. I don't remember it being like overly amazing. Since I haven't played it in a while, but I did like the atmosphere, I'm going to put this in like C tier. This will probably end up bottom C tier for the majority of this ranking. I know you haven't played Advanced Warfare or World War II or even IW, I don't think either, right?
Correct.
So, okay, I'll go through and just finish these other two up here. Beast from Beyond, I hate the map. I'm not going to lie. The map itself is dog shit. Like, it's got the Venom X, which is pretty cool. So I don't really, it's got a decent Wonder Weapon there. The map is really small. The layout's terrible. There's really no good high round strats. The one thing I will say that's cool about it is when you get to the point where you actually get to the theater and you see, you actually break out of like the film technically, which is really, really cool. And you get to Willard Weiler's area. That was a nice, like, solid like area of the map that was really cool, reminiscent of Kino. I want to count the super Easter egg with director's cut and the Mephistopheles boss fight in with this. Like, I know Mephistopheles was supposed to be part of Beast from Beyond, but it's not part of the map. So I'm going to put this in C tier above Descent because I'm including the Easter egg, like the directed cut. So you get all that good shit. And then the actual Mephistopheles boss fight too. But the map itself was just not good. So we're going to put it there. And then the Frozen Dawn, I've played the Frozen Dawn like 1 or 2 times. I've never done the Easter egg. I've heard from Stanley. I've watched Stanley do it. It does not look like a fun time. The map does not look like a good map. People usually complain when they talk about the Frozen Dawn. I'm cool with putting this in D tier. I wouldn't put it in trash just because I've never played it. And I don't want to put it in like the absolute bottom tier of maps of all time because I don't have an opinion on it. But I think that's pretty fair for all 3 of these maps. I guess the Beast from Beyond could move up to B if you are going to count the super Easter egg and the boss fight, because that isn't technically part of the map. I don't really want to put it higher than where that's at. I think, yeah, that really only goes above Descent for those things. But with all those quick little, subtitles out of the way there, we're back to Treyarch Zombies. We're going to finish up here with Revelations, Togler Toten, Forsaken, and the Archon over in Vanguard. So Rev, back over to you. What are your thoughts here on Rev?
My quick commentary about non-Treyarch games is like, first of all, I'm just a Treyarch homer. I don't know. I would not be opposed to playing other renditions of Zombies, but I think it's just how I spend my money or how I want to spend my money, because people are always like, oh, it's a Treyarch game, I don't know if I'm going to buy it. I'm like, it's going to have zombies. What? It feels like to me that if I'm getting a good zombies experience, that, when video games go from $69.99, or maybe when we even started, were they used to be $59.99? Maybe I'm losing my mind or something.
Yeah, I think it was like 60, like 62,
but now they're what, 80 bucks?
Tax.
Like, yeah, $80. I know I'm getting a good zombies experience. Like, it's my Treyarch rationale where, no hate to if any people out there, the Plaxo Zombies or whatever it may be, no, more power to you. Honestly, you're probably more of a true Zombies, fan than me, because at least you're getting the whole experience through Activision or through the other studios, whatever it may be. But Revelations, okay, you played Revelations a lot more than me. I played Revelations decent bit with you. Revelations probably out of all these maps maybe is the most tough to pin down if you're talking about just from the community perspective. I know a lot of people like Revelations. I know a lot of people were upset at Revelations. I will say this. I give Revelations a lot of points, and I give the development studio a lot of points for even trying to go there. And I know that sounds like a cop-out and like a quick way to be like, oh, Revelations is good, but it's not really that good if you think about it. But at the end of the day, a map on that scale, and I'm just going to be the, connect it to modern day type of guy through this whole episode. If that map came out now, like, or that type of map came out now, I feel like everybody would be like, this is the best thing ever. Am I wrong for saying this?
No, and even back then, dude, everyone was always like, their fantasy map was combining previous maps together in some sort of way, shape, or form. I don't know if it would be like the best map ever nowadays, but it certainly probably would be cooler to see now than back then, considering we haven't had just like this odd, whimsical experience that Revelations was now today when we've been used to getting like these facility maps. So no, I don't think you're wrong in saying that at all.
I honestly think, like, if you want this is how you should do recycled content, I think is going to be my final point here. I don't know where to put it, but if you at least you had intention and you had a purpose and you had a conclusion to a storyline. Like at least you had the conclusion of the Ether storyline basically in this, where it's not like Black Ops 6. If you really want to talk about asset dumping and, you know, discussions me and you have talked about over these, you know, past couple of weeks and episodes of Perkaholics Anonymous, this at least makes sense to me. And I don't know, I thought it was cool. I thought this was like, if you want to put together a zombies map that has a lot of ambition and has a lot of, this could really fall flat on its face and we could catch a lot of blowback, which they did. Revelations was a good way to do it, in my opinion. Is it better than Moon? I don't think so, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, dude, looking at it now, like, I guess it could be better than Moon, but at the same time, like, I've like, we've kind of given it for their praises here, but I'm kind of been like the negative one on a lot of these maps, just kind of bringing up the contradictory points here. With Revelations, like you said, the whole map really is just a recycling bin for Chronicles. Like, I know it's not, because like they're not the full maps. The skybox is unbelievable. Like, the atmosphere is unbelievable. The jump pads are sick. You've got the giant Apothecon. Dude, you got the giant Apothecon as like the Pack-a-Punch area, which was unbelievable. Like, yeah, the wonder weapons, yeah, you do have, like, there's no new wonder weapons there. It's all just old reused stuff from previous maps. It makes sense that you do have the Apothecon Servant, the little Arnie's. You got the Thunder Gun.
You're never seeing that type of map again. No, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
You're never seeing that again. I don't think we're ever going to
see something like that again, unless the new transit map that's coming out is like a collection of previous zombies areas, which again would even feed more into my there's going to be a Chronicles 2 at some point kind of theory if they're trying to now rebuild other areas of older zombies maps. But that's besides the point. Revelations, it's a fun map to high around. The helmets you get are amazing. The God Mask is super sick. There's so many cool gameplay elements to Revelations. My only gripes with Revelations is the Easter egg is basically Moon on crack in terms of the RNG. It's you gotta get lucky with the box, and the box is not, the RNG there is not good on this map at all. You either get God tier RNG or you're spinning the box with gobble gums over and over and over and over again. The Easter egg itself is very wonky even to this day. Like, some of the steps still work, but like, I don't know. Weird egg. It just seems like for the Easter egg, they were like, we want to make this the hardest one to solve in the community. And like, the steps are not, like, they are kind of easily replicatable when you know what you're doing, but it's not an Easter egg where like the average person is going to be able to hop on and like complete this in a day or two. This is going to take like weeks of prep and learning the map. I'm not a huge fan of the egg. I don't like the boss fight either. I think for the conclusion of the cycle in the Black Ops 3 storyline, it was really just Shadows of Evil's Easter egg, like the boss fight with like an extra hoop or two to jump through. Like, the Elemental Marg was like, it's very finicky. The boss arena is whatever. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the egg nor the boss fight. I think it really brings the map down. A lot of reused elements here. I think it's an interesting map. I think it's one of the most unique maps we've ever gotten. I think this is like perfectly in B tier. Like, it's average. It's good, but not great. You know, like C tier is the average maps, like the okay experiences. I think it's good. It's better than average, but it's not on the level of like Moon or Doris. And when you're like, if you're putting these maps like side by side, you're like, how is Revelations not better than either of those maps? But when you take into consideration everything that's, you know, they're putting Doris in its pocket of World at War, putting Moon in its pocket of Black Ops 1, and then Revelations as a whole, like, I don't know. For me, there's always been something about it that I'm like, yeah, I like it, but it's not peak. And the ending, like, yes, it did kind of restart the cycle, and it shows us that Primus is in this living, like, it confirms that we're in this big old cycle, and then, you know, they break out of it and be a fort. Like, something about it, man. Something about Revelations just isn't, you know, like the dragon shield's reused too. There was no new shield there. Like, it seems like they had bigger plans for Revelations too. If you know about all the content, we're not going to go into that here, but it just seems like the dream for Revelations was never fully realized. And I think that's kind of why, to me, it just seems like it should be in B tier. Are you fine with piteing it there?
High B, yeah.
Literal, like, top of B, like bottom A tier, could go either way there. I think
that's fair. And like, the people that love Revelations are going to be upset with that, but I think that's like fair with everything else. Like, I don't know, as far as a community sentiment, I don't know how many people would have. I don't think anyone has Revelations above Origins. Maybe a handful of people. And then Doris is going to be probably our controversial pick when this whole ranking, which I'm fine with, because I think me and you are like nostalgia baiters and we just love that shit. So I'm fine with having Doris there, but I've developed a new saying with your listening to your rant, and I'm going to call it the Revelations effect, because it's the most aesthetically pleasing map, in my opinion. The different areas, the different places to play on that map, I think are amazing. And that might be a hot take. That might be a new hot take for me, but I just think that map looks unbelievable. But the Revelations effect, MZC, is, you know what I'm talking about, when people tweet out or YouTube out or wherever they post their thoughts, and it's like just a screenshot of the Revelation skybox, and it says, we used to get this in Black Ops Zombies, by the way, but like that person probably hated Revelations when it came out, and it's a screenshot of Revelations next to a dark part of Liberty Falls or a dark part of Terminus or something like that. So the Revelations discourse over the year is so funny, because I know a lot of people who complain probably that map was recycled assets are saying, you know, this was, if we could get something like this, it'd be, you know, we'd be back, we'd be up, this would be peak. So it's Revelations is just like the funny map to me in all of these that we're going to rank today, but it's a good map.
All right, on to Tag der Toten, the conclusion of the Ether storyline, Black Ops 4, the ending of that game. I mean, I gotta be honest, like I'm gonna let you start because I know you're a huge fan of Call of the Dead. Let you go in. Like, what are your thoughts here on Tag der Toten, just overall?
So the more I think about it, I think you correctly identified that I do love Call of the Dead, and that's why I don't really know if I like this map. Like, the more I think about TOG, 2019, so it came out in 2019, September of 2019, which is crazy because DLC 4 came out in okay. All right, fair enough. Well, when's it? This DLC 4 is coming out in August. Interesting to see just kind of how the franchises shifted over the year and, you know, how games get released and stuff like that. But I don't know. Out of all the maps that to me, Call of the Dead is just do a faithful remaster. Don't do or just whatever we're calling, whatever the different distinctions are. Just give it to me on the modern system and don't change anything. Everything that I felt like was good and unique about Call of the Dead went out the window with Tag der Toten, and it's just not a map that I've played a whole lot of because of that. So is the Pack-a-Punch, you know, off to the side of the map and how you have to do that, is that cool? I don't know. Underwhelming is the word I'm going to use for this map, when it's like, how do you have TOG, right? Then this is what kills me. How am I going to describe underwhelming for probably the most already underwhelming map in Call of Duty Zombies, like in the canon? Like that is what you were supposed to improve on from Call of the Dead. And don't get me wrong, I love Call of the Dead. Some days I got Call of the Dead in my top 3 of all time, and people are going to say that's crazy because the wonder weapons stink, and you know it's not that much innovation and Deadshot and whatever it may be. Okay, the intro cutscene is cool. George Romero is cool. The small, short, fun Easter egg I thought was cool. So to me, underwhelming is the word for this. I don't know. Are we going to be able to get this map out of C tier? It's up to you, I think.
I don't know, man. Like you went for the like comparison between Call of the Dead and Tag der Toten, like the innovations they're supposed to make there. I completely agree with your entire assessment with it just being underwhelming. I'll go more on like the Easter egg and like the significance of when it came out, and then the ending, and like with the storyline there. Like, again, Tag der Toten, the 4th remaster of 4 remasters in Black Ops 4. Everyone wants to complain today about how we're getting reused assets. Tag der Toten was a remastered map. I know it was expanded upon. I like to see like when they do that, where they add some areas to older maps. Would love if Chronicles was ever going to come out again to like see Kino with a couple extra areas, or Verrucht with like the courtyard open. Would be really, really cool. But as the finale of the Ether storyline, to get Tag der Toten, like when people heard that it was going to be called that remaster, people were like, I'm out. Before we even saw a trailer, people back then were like, I'm done. Like I'm out. Like this is how, like, we, you know, again, maybe it wasn't supposed to be like this, because I know some people are like, oh, it was or it wasn't. You had Blood of the Dead's end cut scene where Nikolai is talking to Richtofen, and he's like, you need to keep your soul because it's going to be needed to defeat Dr. Monty. And then Classified, the 2 squads, Optimus and Primus, link up, and it's, we're going to the war. What war? The Great War. And it's like this build up. And then even Alpha Omega, which came out like 2 months before Tag der Toten, or 2 months before Tag der Toten, the end cut scene, Samantha's talking to Eddie. She's like, we're going to the Great War, and then we're going going back to the house and we're gonna kill Dr. Monty and burn it to the ground.
Sold us a bag of goods.
Exactly. This whole, whether or not that was the actual plan the entire time, why even cock tease that as like the community being like, we're gonna, you know, have the Great War, or we're at least gonna have this like confrontation with Monty. You know, some of the reworked or leaked, there were cuts, or not cutscenes, but there were, you know how like back in the day they had the comic book strips for the intros for the maps?
Yes.
In the comic book series that they had for the Ether storyline, like in between the events of BO3 and breaking out of the cycle going into BO4, at the end of every comic, there was a remastered comic strip, and the one for Die Rise was actually the Primus crew led by Ultimus Richtofen going to the house. So, and like that was what I thought was going to be the ending. The last map is like, okay, Primus Richtofen dies off in Blood of the Dead. We're going to end up with Ultimus Richtofen being the one to take the rest of the Primus crew to the house. Like, that was what I was imagining, like, the entire time of Black Ops 4. It's like, just get me to DLC 4, don't care. To have the ending be the Victus crew on Call of the Dead with reused Thunder Guns, like, it was so underwhelming. There's no boss fight. It's like a lockdown sequence. Like the whole map itself. And like, don't get me wrong, like the Victus crew was cool. I like that they were written into the story. If you followed the comic books, it all makes sense. It all ties it in very well. Like the fluidity of the storyline is there, but I just fundamentally disagree with the last map in the Ether storyline being a map where Primus and Ultimus don't actually appear on the map. They're only in the cutscenes, which aren't even animated, by the way, and they die just being poisoned in the woods, and that's the end of the Ether storyline. Like, it's so anticlimactic from everything that we had from Moon upwards to Tag der Toten. Like, Moon blew up the Earth. Origins is like, what the hell was that cutscene? There's robots. There's whatever. Revelations is like this huge grand finale that you end up being in the cycle. You're supposed to break out of this. We're supposed to kill Monty. Like, big step back there. The Easter egg is very, very lackluster in my opinion. A lot of it is just like you're helping out Pablo at the top of the lighthouse. Like, I know it makes sense. I know it fits from a storyline perspective because they wrote it very well, but I just disagree with the direction that they took it. And that's just a storyline. The map itself is like, it's reused goods, it's reused assets. I'm not against those things appearing. I'm not against reimaginings of older maps. I just think for the ending of the Ether storyline, all around very underwhelming. I think this could even be like top of C tier personally.
Yep.
I just don't even think that this should be in the conversation with Revelations. I think this is like bottom B tier at its absolute best day, because there are some cool like gameplay mechanics. Like they had a heat pack that you could get where it would make you run faster and freeze slower. Like, that's sick. If that was in Call of the Dead, would have made the map a lot better. Like, just, you know, they did have some nice innovations there that would have played well on Call of the Dead or on this map. Like the Richtofen's laboratory was finally really sick to see and conceptualize, because that's where the original Primus crew were taken and held during Call of the Dead. Because that was, even though it was like a lighthouse and stuff, the original concept for Call of the Dead through the radios was that was a Group 935 facility. So seeing that on screen was nice. But yeah, dude, overall, I mean, for the conclusion of the Ether storyline, I think it was kind of a big letdown there. And I just feel like average experience, not great, not bad, average.
I totally agree with average. I think that's the best word to really describe it. And like, I don't think you could do this again if you're Treyarch. You have to learn from, this is a map, that's a map where, and even though it's, you know, a little bit older, it's not that old, but it's a little bit older, but in comparison to some of these maps, not that old, but you can't make that mistake again. And if people are concerned about like a transit remake in this fashion, like TOG is your evidence to not do it, or hopefully don't do it that bad, because you can't overhaul transit and think that you could do it like how you did this map and just hope it works. That's not going to fly. So I think it's a good learning experience. That when I'm looking for commentary on this and it says a reimagining rather than a wholly new concept, it refines existing ideas with a fresh coat of paint. Like, did it really though?
Right.
I don't know. Super average to me. TOG, no disrespect. It's just sad because when you like Call of the Dead, and then once again, I agree with you. It's not an actively bad map. There's nothing really wrong with the actual map. It's a map that you could sit there and play, but can't be much better than low B, high C. I think you're right.
I'm putting in C just because I just really don't like the ending of the Primus storyline, but it could be, the map itself could be a bottom barrel B tier map. But if we got Revelations in B tier, I think Revelations is like a head and shoulders above Tag der Toten.
Absolutely. All right. On to our favorite. On to Cold War MZC. Let me kick this off because you're pretty much going to be the only person talking for Archon before we get to the community corner. We got 2 maps left. Let me get close to the camera here because I got a this is a public service announcement for Treyarch. Forsaken. Look, I'm one of the biggest Cold War truthers in the book. I know a lot of people don't like Cold War for all of its issues, for the big gap in between D-Machine at launch and then getting Firebase, for all of that. Look, let me come closer here. Let me talk to you. You had a chance. You had a chance coming off the back of Firebase and especially coming off the back of Mauer. And I urge you, I'm telling you, look me in the windows of my soul. If you throw in the towel with Janus Towers, if you go down this Forsaken path with the Reckoning, there's going to be a lot of issues. There's going to be a lot of hell to pay because look, you guys have a whole nother year of this. I totally understand. You guys are working, grinding your ass off. Me and MZC agree. We've given you, a lot of praise for this game. Black Ops 6 is a good zombies game. It's a lot better than Cold War. It's going to contend to be better than, I think it's better than Black Ops 4. Is it a Black Ops 3 level game? No, we've talked about this multiple times. But look, Forsaken is one of the worst Call of Duty Zombies maps that I have ever played in my life. And people are going to say, oh, what happened? You hit the big 180 because it's been mostly positive. Outside of the Crystal Axe, I can't even begin to conceptualize and tell you my thoughts about how much of a slap in the face I thought Forsaken was as someone who, like I said, loved Cold War, thought it was a great map, thought the innovations and the new concepts and how they were doing the entirety of the gameplay and all that and the gunplay and everything. I thought that Cold War, sure, it was COVID. There was a big break, like I said, between D-Machine and Firebase, and then you just threw all the momentum away that you had off the back of Mauer with this map. You can't do it again. You can't. That's my thoughts. Put in F. Just put it in F.
Dude, okay. I don't think it's that. There are some redeeming qualities to Forsaken. I know you just slammed
like
it, so I'll be the opposite.
Like
all right, listen. The Crystal Axe before it was nerfed was like a really, really solid wonder weapon. It did get nerfed, so I guess we can't take it there. I actually think that Forsaken has the best, tie up to the storyline that we've seen in a DLC 4 map out of everything else, because the majority of it, it left us off on a cliffhanger, but the cutscene was sick. I think the crew getting arrested and Richtofen finally being in control left us in a good place. Obviously, they haven't done much with that this entirety of the year, but aside from that, dude, I agree. This map,
even the boss fight, I thought the boss fight was cool.
Yeah, the boss fight
was fine.
Yeah.
But by the time I got to the boss fight, I just, it's like if you go to somewhere and your appetizer sucks and your waiter's slow and they're not filling up your water fast enough, and then you order the burger and the fries and the fries come out and they're cold, and the burger you ordered it medium and it comes well done. I'm not gonna sit there and bitch. I'm still gonna give a 20% tip to the waiter, and then they come out and then, oh, the dessert is amazing. I don't even want the dessert at that point.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? I'm not going to leave a bad review though. I'm not a piece of shit. I'm just telling you this is behind the scenes.
I don't think that this map was even supposed to exist. It was never in the code until later on in the game. It's a
multiplayer map, or it's a campaign map.
Yeah,
it's a campaign map.
The map itself is terrible. The flow to it is awful. The teleporting system just seems like they needed to get different areas from the campaign in a single place. They just copy and pasted teleporters, which I'm not against, but the flow is terrible. The spawn room was probably the best part of the entire map, to be honest, aside from the boss fight. The spawn room was pretty cool, being able to just sit there for the first 10 rounds and rack up points and then go through the map. But the Easter egg itself is if you get the Crystal Axe from the box, the Easter egg is 15 minutes. It's not a hard Easter egg at all. Even without it, it's not hard. It's probably the easiest map to high round on the game because you can just sit in the corner. The few side Easter eggs were cool, but overall, yeah, I've never been a fan of Forsaken. I thought it was the most underwhelming piece of shit that they could have had for Cold War. I liked Cold War. I don't think it's awful. I certainly don't think it's as bad as Beast from Beyond, Descent, Frozen Dawn, but it's certainly not better than Togg or Toten. So for me, I think it's got to be middle C tier. If you were just comparing the Treyarch maps, I think aside from one other one here, this would definitely be the worst DLC 4 from Treyarch.
I didn't even play Archon, and I think Archon's better. I didn't even play it. I didn't even play it. I don't know. But it's like, is Archon really that bad? Holy crap!
Yes,
but it's
dude.
like, and this is my thing though. Before I let you go into it, listen. Here's the thing: is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the big storyline lore guy that you are, obviously. Does it feel like the storyline leading into this game, or like where we're at in the storyline? I feel like Forsaken kind of ruined it. I was on board, and I've never been more immersed in the storyline talking recently than like after Mauer and after Firebase, and then they just gave us this. So if you want to complain about the storyline where it's at now, I think Forsaken's a huge part of those issues.
See, I'm the opposite. I thought it was great going into it. You know, you had the Sam, when we know it's Sam AI now, but back then it looked like Sophia from Gorod Krovi that the Forsaken was stored in and that Sam was stored in. She was stuck in the dark ether. Rick Toffin had complete control. Like Peck is looking for the crew now to bust them out of wherever they were going to be. And as time went on, like in MW3, we found out there was something called Terminus Island, and we could figure out that that's where the crew was going to be housed. There were like things that were going on in the meantime that were able to tie into the end of the game. I thought it was fine. I just don't think they've done anything with the payoff that they had in Forsaken this entire year. I know the entire game is set over the course of like 3 days, so there's not much, like, one map isn't going to be like, oh, we're in the 1940s, now we're in 2025, now we're time traveling back to 800,000 BC. Like, it's not a huge jump there, but yeah, I just think that, I don't know, they just didn't do much with it. But okay, last map here, we got the Archon. The Archon is a entirely reused map. So like, the first one that came out, the second DLC, or the first, it was the second map or experience of Vanguard, was called Terra Maledicta, and it was like an Outbreak style map. They reused that entire map and just turned it into a round-based experience for the Archon, and it's terrible. Like, the map itself is just, God, dude, it's fucking awful. Like, it's literally terrible. It's not even like a thought out of a round-based. It's literally just if you slapped like a multiplayer map and called it a round-based map and said, this is what it's going to be. The only redeeming quality of the Archon, the only thing that's really new, is the Easter egg that you can do and the final Cortifax boss fight, which I personally think is like an A-tier boss fight. The boss fight is so sick. There's not really a cutscene at the end of it. It seems like they even came out and said this, basically. They really honestly came out and said, this entire map is literally just, hey, there's going to be a boss fight. Like, the entirety of this was just, they could have literally released the boss fight on its own after like a little bit of a setup and it would have been fine. But overall, dude, like, it didn't do anything for the story, really. We still don't know where Cortifax is at, if he's dead or whatnot. Like, there's nothing there. The map itself is just dog shit. Like, it's terrible. It really is that bad. The boss fight is the
Vanguard just never had a chance.
No, dude, but like, the boss fight is the only redeeming quality. I am okay with putting this above the Frozen Dawn. This, like, because of the boss fight, it's not the worst of all time. But I don't think it's better than Descent. I don't think it's better than Beast from Beyond. It's definitely not better than Forsaken. It doesn't even come close to Forsaken or Talk. I think this is like top D tier above Frozen Dawn. I haven't played the Frozen Dawn. I've only watched it, but from what I've seen, I think I'd rather still play the Archon than the Frozen Dawn.
All right, well, DLC 4 conclusion maps of games. You see the graphic there. I'm sure MZC will have it up on screen throughout the duration of this, but yeah, I can't wait for Janus Towers. I think that this is the map for this game, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more in the community corner. We're going to see how many we can get through here, but I think you got to go big or go home. Like, this has to be the grand slam of this map. I think we've been culminating and percolating. We've given Treyarch a chance to really cook and play the long game storytelling with this title, but the Reckoning, I mean, you're literally calling it the Reckoning. Like,
this needs to be like,
it has to slap.
This has to be the best map in the game, in my opinion, or at least contend for it. There needs to be, a new mini boss. It has to have
elements of everything. It
Absolutely.
has to be it has to be grindable for if you just want to be like play it as survival. But the Easter egg has to be good, and it has to have good wonder weapon play. That's
it's
not
have a great
weak.
Boss fight.
And they can't. I'm telling you this before we get into the community corner, guys. To people at Treyarch, please, if anyone out there, if anybody could get this to anyone out there. It's July 13th. If if you need to be able to, if you need to push this to creators or have people who get early access to it, I know you've never done this before in the past, but it feels like to me, if the community is concerned, rightfully so, it's because it truthfully feels like maybe no one has play tested this game since Citadel. And that's not a gripe. That's just something I want to put out there, because if this map drops and there's 2-3 weeks and we get Citadel'd, and I just made that up, we get Citadel'd where the swords were terrible, and all eyes are on Black Ops 7. We're already getting trailers for Black Ops 7. We're already getting, fresh look aheads and COD Next. It cannot be that. It cannot be this. Whatever you guys have to do to polish it and make it as good as possible. So day one, 11 o'clock noon, whenever the update goes live, this map needs to be a banger. That's my opinion, MZC.
Believe it or not, this is really marketing for Black Ops 7 at this point. Like,
absolutely.
This is like you're either going to have people be like, I'm back on board with this map, and like, if Primus does come back and this is the ending, I'd like,
yes,
this is your first step in marketing for BO7, because you can't market for BO7 until after this map is out, because of, the storyline isn't going to be wrapped up, and this is a direct continuation of this last map. So this is your first trailer, this is your first look, this is your first, the community's either going to be like, oh, I'm reeled back in, I'm excited for BO7, I see the vision, or it's going to be like, I don't know about this, and you're going to have to really heavily rely on trailers and interviews and early gameplay to persuade people to get back on the bandwagon. So it's do or die time for Treyarch really going forward. This needs to be, in my opinion, like an A-tier DLC 4 map for people to get really, really excited about next year. If it's C or below,
be a moon level map.
Yeah, if we're like bottom B tier, C or below, we're not gonna be looking great going into next year.
And I get it. Like, there's a month left. How much can you really do for a zombies map in a month? I think you could do a lot personally. I'm not behind the scenes. I'm not a video game developer. I could be sounding totally ignorant right now, but whatever you need to do, if you need to fly people out early to play test it, if you need to get on play calls, if you need to play calls, what am I talking about? If you need to get on creator calls, whatever it may be, if you need to find a way to get NDAs via email and hot patch this update early, 2-3 weeks early into someone's game, or if it's the biggest creators, if it's people that, whoever it may be, if it's professional playtesters, I don't know what needs to happen. I get it. You guys probably have 85-90% of it done, but me and MZC are telling you guys, and telling the community, I think, is telling you guys, the last 10% needs to really rock.
Yep.
And if it does, it does. And we'll be on here telling you that this map is amazing, and we're going to be transparent and truthful and honest. And that's what we're here for. It's Perkaholics Anonymous. We're not going to come on here and, just lie or make stuff up or just fanboy nonsensically. So that's kind of where me and MZC are at. But where we're at in the episode is the community corner. We only got about 30 minutes, MZC. I told you that rank would be a little bit longer than we thought it might take. Yeah. Let's see how many people we could get through.
Let's go quick here. Let's go quick. Let's go quick.
Let's see how fast. Let's see how fast we can do it. Let's see how fast we can do it. All right, let's start off. Donuts, friend of the show, guest of the show. Appreciate you. He says, as a huge mule kick defender, I don't feel the need for it in Black Ops 6. I wanted it in Cold War. It came, and I only used it for the augments. Augments would be good, but 3 guns is overkill at this point. No Widow's Wine, he says. I'm not a fan. We already have in reactive armor. Ruins the trains. Good point that it would be different here, but even still, when a Mangler knocks down my zombies, it's still frustrating. 100% agree. Zombshell is already in Black Ops 6 with Vulture and Crowd Freeze. Ice Cloud is 100% Zombshell. What perk needs to come back? Stone Cold Stronghold. Camping with weapons, added armor. It would be awesome. Same with Toxic Growth. Those are 2 ideas we don't really have replacement for in Black Ops 6, so I think it would be cool. I'd be cool with either of those perks coming back.
I would too. I think the majority of people, their complaints with this game is that it's just set in a corner, which this would reinforce that. I think what would be cool though for Stronghold, like let's say they were to go down that route and bring Stronghold back as the final perk, would be an augment for Ring of Fire. I think that'd be so fucking sick, dude. Because it really, like, I don't know if you remember Stronghold very much, but it's like you sit in a corner and then like a blue ring pops up around you, and then it gives you like extra armor.
Don't you have to stand still?
Yeah, you have to be like literally like in a corner. So it would be sick as like a major augment to be like Ring of Fire, basically, where it outputs your damage, and then a minor augment be like zombies take damage when walking inside of the ring. So like they could literally bring this back and give it Ring of Fire without it taking up a field upgrade, which would be really, really cool. I know it'd be pretty useless if you're running around, but overall I agree. My only thing with Widow's Wine is like, I'm not saying bring Widow's Wine back directly. I'm saying like it could be Ethereal Razor from Black Ops 4 or Winter's Whale hybrid from Black Ops 4. I'm just saying use the branding for Widow's Wine. You know, it's not obvious. I don't want it to be the same thing it was in BO3 because I threw my grenades out when I was training. It was no point for it after a certain point. It was good for Easter egg runs, whatever. But I'm just saying the branding for Widow's Wine is probably would be, people would probably just get more excited for Widow's Wine, just seeing like the logo, seeing the thought of it, more so than Stronghold or any other of the perks that they could bring back in the future if they were going to bring any back. But I agree. I think it would be really cool to see Stronghold, especially if they have those augments for Ring of Fire.
Widow's Wine, 4 letters, Aura. All right, moving forward to Muffles. After listening to this pod in full, I realized that all the changes made in Black Ops 6 and even Cold War for the purpose of accessibility took away a lot of the aura that zombies used to have. For example, the shield thing y'all talked about. Why can't the armor be a buildable like the shield was? Accessibility. It's inconvenient to look around for parts. Like, bro, no, it's not. Just use your brains like you're supposed to. Also, the armor, ammo boxes, and crafting benches need to be more zombified. People wouldn't mind it if it wasn't so tastefully implemented. I totally agree. I'm glad that you took that part in that segment of the show to heart, because I feel like we were kind of rambling at that point, but it made a lot of sense. So shout out to you, Muffles. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, make the ammo boxes he's so right. They look so out of place. So totally agree.
Yeah, they did good with the Arsenal station, making that look more of like a zombie-specific thing, where they split it from just being like the Klaus robot, where you could go up and then get your salvet, whatever that was. But then, yeah, they did good there. But yeah, the whole ammo crate situation, there needs to be at least a quest for the armor, and if not a quest, then just like you pick up a couple of parts around the map, and then there's a buildable table where you can like build. Let's say you find like one piece of armor, you unlock one piece of armor, you could just build it at a table, and then every time go back to that table to pick it up when you need to upgrade it or whatever. Yeah, it just needs to be more zombified 100% across the board. Took away a lot of the aura. I completely agree. I don't think we need a shield because I don't think it would play very well in the modern system. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'd love to see him come back, but yeah, overall, definitely, especially with the armor boxes, the ammo boxes, the crafting benches, those need to be zombies specific. They shouldn't just be reskins, especially from Cold War. They should have had more depth there.
Absolutely. Shout out to Muffles. Great comment there. I believe this is a returning guest to the community corner, Tac M. He says, I really want to see better augment balance, at least for Grief, buffs, reworks to useless augments like Spare Change and Condor's Reach, and nerfs to easy get out of jail augments like Tribologist and Reactive Armor. They cause games to drag out way too long and make it feel as if griefing does nothing. Also for Grief, I think an MWZ, a win streak reward system would be sick. Adds that high stakes factor, which I feel like is missing. It would also make it more replayable. For real quickly for me, yeah, they have the win streak, and you know they throw the in ranked Warzone. They have the win streak stuff in there, which I think is sick. That seems like a no-brainer to me for Grief, even though it isn't ranked. Augments, really quickly. I'm not going to make any comments about augments for Grief because I think we've already talked about it a little bit, but to me, I think the augment system, while it's amazing, I think the majority of people like it. I do think augments handicaps the game the longer the game cycle goes, because it's fun to grind for all the augments, and by the time DLC 4 comes around, it's almost like a different game than when like it launched, because you have everything and you're so good and you're like kitted out to the max, to the point where I understand that's the point, because they want people to play and they want people who put time into the game to be to have the most accessible stuff available for you. But it's also to the point where it almost feels like a different game at the end of these cycles, specifically because it started in Cold War, because you're so much better and your character is so much more kitted out. Buying one perk in DLC 4 is a lot different than buying that same perk off the rip when the game launches, where that I think takes away from some of the nostalgia and why some of the other games were so good, because every map, it had different perks and it had different perk loadouts, but every map felt different and felt like a unique challenge, because 6 months into the game, you didn't have all these extra augments that you didn't have when you started and when you first bought the game, if that makes sense.
I'm completely in agreement there. I think that I won't even touch on the augments because I think you're 100% right. For Grief specifically, definitely maybe not in like a regular playlist, but there needs to be some sort of ranked mode in order to kind of bring those changes in. I don't think it should be out of like regular play, but if you're going to have a ranked play where people want to go hard and compete, then there's definitely that. And again, with the win streaks as well, I talked about both of these things in this Grief video I got that's coming out. Well, it's yesterday now, but today, it's definitely needs to be in the game. I think that like 5, 10, 15, 25 game win streak should be rewarded. I think like every like 5 games or whatever, like you should hit that, but then there should be like one per season where you can get like a super skin or a, you know, reactive blueprint or a camo for getting 25 wins. And then once you hit that, then you can still like, you still get the win streak rewards, but like there should be one mega one per season.
Fair enough. Yeah, win streak seems like super easy, where even it shows you that you have like a better chance of getting ultra or purple gums if you're on like a 5-10 game win streak. That seems like an easy fix to me, but here we are. At Imposter Yosh says, question for next episode, a broad question to let y'all cook. Do you guys think that the story will be wrapped up by the end of Janus, or are they going to leave us a cliffhanger for Black Ops 7? So we appreciate you, Yosh, for trying to let us cook. But my answer is pretty simple, because I think it has to be wrapped up. Just from what we've heard, if the leaks are true about Black Ops 7, I think this storyline has to be wrapped up, or this storyline is getting ported back into the traditional crew, which I don't know how they do that. MZC, how do you feel?
I think that I would like to see this current group of characters storyline wrapped up. Like, I mean, I don't hate them at all, but I definitely think that this needs to be, if they're going to bring back Primus, these guys need to go. Like, there shouldn't be like a 8-player, like, oh, you can pick between these 8 operators and mix and match crews. Like, I don't think that's like, if no,
Primus is back, this has to be done.
Absolutely. I don't think that like the whole story, like with Sam AI needs to be done, or like there could still be like some potential there. But I think that like if Primus is coming back, there needs to be another big bad. I don't want it to be Cortifax. I don't want it to be the Sam AI. I don't want it to be the Forsaken. Like, if Primus is coming back, it needs to be some version of Monty and the Shadow Man fused, or the Shadow Man directly, or Monty himself. Like, there needs to be short answer. Yes, storyline needs to be wrapped up with a cliffhanger for next game, like going into like a teaser for BO7 or a teaser there.
Fair enough. I mean, I think everyone's got a big anticipation for this map. They got to keep it under wraps to see where they do end up going at the end of it. Moving on, Nukeman_13, absolute stud, GOAT follower of the channel. Appreciate you a lot, Nuke. He says the GOAT cast is always with 2 legends themselves. Hey, thank you. Question, deep down, do you want to see a return to the older and simpler version of zombies, or do you want them to keep building on this new storyline with new mini bosses and taking the mode in a whole other direction? Great question, Nuke. I think at this point they have too many chips in the middle of the pot. They have to keep going with what they have. I know that's maybe dodging the question a little bit. I think deep down everybody wants the old zombies to be back, and it's not even that. It's not that people want the old zombies to be here now. It's that you want to be back playing the old zombies, and I think that's 2 different things, but they are way too pot committed to switch up where they're going now, and I think that's going to upset a lot of people, Black Ops 7, but it's just the direction of the franchise at this point. Try to enjoy it. If you don't like it, don't play it. That's kind of where I'm at.
I think there needs to be a better balance of older mechanics that need to come back, like something like the shield and, you know, old point system. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing like stuff like that, but I don't like the augment system. I think is fantastic. It gives you a lot of different depth to the mode depending upon what you're doing. Like with double tap, if you're running double standard, you know, you want an AR or whatever. There's an augment for shotguns. There's an augment for AR. Like stuff like that is great. It adds more depth and replayability to the overall like gameplay loop. I just think that like map specific quests, like side quests for grenades or specific like field upgrades would be great. Like I don't want them to go back to only just making it exactly like carbon copy of Black Ops 3, but I think that they definitely need to pull more of like the classic mechanics into this game mode. And I don't think that just saying we need a classic mode is the answer, because a classic mode on this current system is going to play like shit. Like you're either going to have to completely overhaul the systems and go backwards completely, or you're going to have to find some way to just like maybe keep the modern systems but get rid of salvage and stuff, and then just add some more of the mechanics back. But a classic like 2 or 3 hit system, I actually don't want them to go back to that. Yeah, it makes the game a little bit harder, but I just feel like the game is going to be too hard at that point, which is it's funny. But yeah, no, I think that deep down to answer your question, Nuke, I'd love to see them go back and bring older mechanics back. Even some of the older bosses, like the OG Panzer, the Margwa, stuff like that would be cool to see. I know it's reused assets, but I mean, we haven't seen them since we haven't seen Margwa since Black Ops 3, haven't seen Panzers since Black Ops 3. So bring some of the older stuff back. I think there's a good medium they need to find, really.
And Nuke, I'm not saying that like this was how you were phrasing the question by any means, but for the people out there that think that they're just going to completely abandon all the stuff they've been trying to balance and they've been trying to work out all the kinks with, as far as all the way back to Cold War in 2020, whether it be the salvage or the augments or the shields or the gobblegums or, you know, whatever it may be, I think that it's kind of silly to think that they're going to totally take a 180 and just walk away from that in Black Ops 7. That just doesn't really make any sense as far as just thinking about stuff logistically and logically. But it's like, hey, maybe they could surprise you and Black Ops 7 looks totally different than Black Ops 6. I don't really think that's going to be the case, but
I think 2028 is when we get that. I think next year is way too soon. I don't think they have the time to go back, because like if you're talking about going back, they've been working on this stuff for half a decade. Yeah, but dude, like to go back, from what I understand, to go back and completely rework the entire system, correct, it's going to take years and years of development. I think 2028 really is going to be that year where we see like the OG point mechanic, maybe a shield, some of the more like classic zombies experiences come back. I think next year for sure, like a classic style playlist might be viable, because that was in the code with Grief. I think they maybe just said we're not going to try and push all this out this year. Let's wait till next year to implement something like that. But for anyone that's expecting next, like I already know people are going to be upset when they're like, oh, there's still salvage, there's still armor plating, right, there's still this and that next year. Like that's going to be in the game next year. It's too soon to change those types of things. I think 2028 is when I would personally be upset and be like, what do you guys fucking work? If it gets to 2028 and we still have everything we have now with no reversion, at least to some of the classic systems, that's when it's going to be like, what are you guys fucking doing? But right now, like one more year with this current system is what I'm expecting. I'm not going to set my expectations for anything else. Best case scenario, classic playlist.
And you just have to put two and two together. They're just refining, getting good at doing stuff they introduced in 2020, and it's 2025 halfway through. So it is what it is. At Bring Back Chaos says, with this being the final DLC, I'm fully expecting a grand boss fight. I know the modes aren't all that similar, but seeing how cool the Echo Entity boss was in MW3, I can't see a world where we don't get a boss fight to that scale in this game. Also, I fully agree with the fact that we don't necessarily want the shield back in the game. If they made the armor unique, every map made its own side quest, would be much more intriguing and would be received a lot better by the community. Obviously, we agree with that. Bring Back Chaos, thank you for that comment. Here's the thing. I will agree. My statement on this, my response and reaction to this comment from Chaos is that I will be a little bit disappointed if we get the same style and theme of boss fight that we've gotten in every other map so far this game in The Reckoning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Do we just Guardian, and don't get me wrong, like they're cool. Like Guardian is cool. I think, and people are going, oh, you Tomb throwaway map, they duped you guys, nothing. But like Tomb has the best boss fight. Can we just call a spade a spade? Like, sorry, I'm just saying, I'm not saying coolest. Obviously Z-Rex is coolest, but the best mechanically sound boss fight in the game is the Tomb. Argue with the wall, I don't care. That's my opinion. Yours might be different. I'm just telling you mine. It needs to be like that, but more. Like, I don't need just break armor, and then it's a lockdown phase where they're immune, and then break armor, and it gets progressively harder. Dude, just do something else. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think there needs to be 2 boss fights in this next map. I think the initial one against like the Sam AI would be sick, and then whether it's the Forsaken, whether it's a big bad, I think they're like the final boss needs to be like Terminus on a bigger scale, where you have that like midway boss fight of Nathan leading into like a much harder, what I'm saying. You do that scale.
Where has that been? They experimented with this Nathan thing mid map, which I thought was great in Terminus, and then it's like, hey, we're not going to try that again.
Yeah.
What?
We need to see that next map, and then we've already talked about the armor plates. I totally agree that the shield needs to be some sort of like a unique side quest in order to earn, rather than just buying it off the wall. It's much better in this game than it was Cold War, but it's still not where it needs to be.
Interesting discussion there for sure. At 10 Chromosoma, he says, I'm looking forward to Gauntlets and Rush to make a stellar comeback next year. I'm also waiting for Dead Ops Arcade 4. Hopefully first person mode makes a reappearance. Goated mode. I will tell you this, sir. First of all, thank you for the comment. Second of all, any title with Dead Ops Arcade, I'm there.
Yep. Dead Ops Arcade 4 is rumored, which is nice. Gauntlets and Rush, not really in the works from any of the leaks that we've seen. Not to say that they're not potentially going to be in at some point, but I wouldn't get too excited about. I think Gauntlet needs to make a return, period. Like, I genuinely think that's the next mode. Like, we got Grief this year, which is great. Gauntlets, if you remember them, are like the individual rounds, are individual, like Classified's Gauntlet was like round 1, stand next to a flagpole and kill zombies. Round 2, use the RK5.
They could do that in LTM.
I don't even think in LT. I think they just bring that back as a standard mode for each map. I don't know how much dev time that would take, especially, but like it can't be that crazy because like they have the SAM AI, so like the trial system of like doing something specifically is in the game. I know would work a little bit different to complete that round, but yeah, with Dead Ops 4, any game that's had Dead Ops has been good. Like Cold War wasn't amazing, but it was a good game. You know, you had Black Ops 3, goated game, had Dead Ops. Black Ops 1, goated game, had Dead Ops. I think that it's rumored right now. I think we'll see it next year. It would be great to see. But don't get your hopes up for Gauntlet or Rush.
Dead Ops is amazing. Absolute cinema. At Zach Zerbiak 8094 says they shouldn't show the Transit remake outside of a trailer. It's too divisive off the rip. People will hate on it so much. Zach, interestingly enough, with the current state of zombies, the current state of video games, and the current state of social media, people would have an absolute bitch fit if they did something about like how I'm going to suggest. I couldn't agree with you more, though. I think the early look at stuff, like stuff is DOA for a good percentage of the fan base because they're just like, oh, this looks terrible. So don't even show anything. Show a couple of screenshots and show like the 2-second thing where people think it's the bus. Just release the map. I'm all on board for them doing that. I know it would get a lot of hate. I don't care. I think the anticipation for that shit would be amazing.
I think they definitely. I like where you're at with this because that's how it used to be. I think the trailer needs to be. Yeah, the trailer needs to be in. They need to do the intro cutscene, especially if it's going to be premise. Like, you definitely need to see that to build some hype. I think it'll be at COD Next, or if not at COD Next, they'll have like a backroom playtest for it, which is what I think they actually need. I think I agree with you, Zach, but they need to have people in the room that do zombies every day. At minimum, play through this and say, like, these are the changes you need to make before the launch in November or late October, whenever this game's coming out. There needs to be, like, at least to a small group of individuals, something to kind of give them, you know, some feedback with. But I agree with you. The only argument against that is, like, people are going to say, don't pay for it, don't pre-order it, don't get this. We don't have any we don't have any gameplay. Like, why would you pre-order this without any gameplay? Which, like, today, that wouldn't fly back in the, you know, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. We only got trailers. There wasn't this like, hey, there's a 8-hour play test and YouTubers are releasing gameplay a month and a half early, 2 months before the game, like Liberty Falls was last year, to see. So I think that I agree. I 100% agree with you, Zach, but I do think there needs to be at least like a closed door play test for this game mode for people to kind of be like, hey, these are the changes that we've made from last year in terms of the mechanics. What do you think of these? What could be done for launch to make this a better experience?
Absolutely. I think that they have a tough time with that because it's like, hey, you got to promote your stuff, but you promote it and then have percentage of the community just writes it off right away. So it's definitely interesting marketing, branding, video gaming, all around. I think they're
learning from it. Sorry, I think they're learning from it a little bit with the blog post because at the beginning of the year, it was like every area was heavily detailed and explained. Like I remember like going through Terminus, Liberty Falls, and Citadel, and knowing the entire layout of the map and where things were going to be before I even loaded into the game without even seeing gameplay. Just looking at the blog post, you're like, all right, I know where I'm at. So I think that they're learning from it. I think this would just be taking it a step forward.
Yeah, that's a tough balance to find too. So it's kind of tough to fault them for that. Like, just wait for the map to come out and then play it and then make your assessments before, doing any jumping the gun. But at VY7357 says, what are the top 3 items on your BO7 wish list for the zombies mode? Perhaps you can do separate realistic items and 3 things you feel like are unlikely but would really like to see in the next title. All right, I'm going to go 3, what I think I would classify realistic, then I'll throw it over to you. Number 1, I need unique wonder weapons. I think that's a common thing across the community. Like, you had this whole year and we've given you the grace to have this runway to kind of put assets in this to see if it works on the modern system. Cool. You got to do it at some point. You might as well do it and give us content at the same time. Love it. Next game, I need unique wonder weapons. It's getting a little bit out of hand, especially if this is the Cerberus or whatever may be in the Reckoning. Yada, yada, yada. Number 2, I need a cast and crew that I give a damn about. I think that's kind of rumored, kind of in the code. Premise, I don't know. I don't even care if you really mess it up. I don't care if it's not as good as it used to be. Like, I just, Maya, sorry. I know there's a lot of Maya fans, sorry, I like Duck, but no. And golden armor. Bring golden armor back. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'd piggyback for sure. Like the crew. The first thing you said. I think for my top 3 to be a little bit different here, I think I want to see carry forward of not only the gobblegums and weapons, but also the maps. If you own Black Ops 6, like I don't like, maybe that's not in the realistic. I'll just do non-realistic ones. How about that? I want carry forward to the maps if you own Black Ops 6 and whatever the super Easter egg is, so that like the reward for whether it's the cookbook, whether it's something else, like whatever you get for completing this Easter egg, as long as it's not like purple tier rarity or all the something crazy that just makes you OP, carry that forward the next year. There needs to be a little bit more than just the gums and the weapons. Same with the augments and perks, bring those forward as well. I think another thing that we need to see for sure is like the more in-depth experiences for side quests. Like let's say they do bring field upgrades back. I'd like to see one map specific field upgrade every single map. With Shadows of Evil, we had the Apothecon Sword, we had the Ragnaroks and DE, the Skull of Non-Sapway, we had the Gauntlet of Siegfried. All those could be field upgrades in this game that are map specific items that make you want to play a map for that specific reason and gives you that replayability for the map, but then takes away the field upgrade that you have. You can swap back and pick it back up whenever you want. And then the last thing I'd say they need to absolutely have next year that would be kind of a unrealistic thing would be ranked grief. Like I know that should be realistic, but I think that if they are going to bring grief back, they cannot do it like they did this year and just bring back the mode itself. It needs to have private matches, yep. It needs to have ranked, and it needs to have regular mode in order for that to really succeed. I think ranked grief would be super, super tough. I don't think everyone would love it, but I think it would add a lot of replayability. It would make me want to play grief every single day versus I'll just compare this to Warzone and Rebirth. Jeff and I were burning out on Rebirth last season where it was like, I want to play this, but I don't want to play this because
stop playing it. Yep.
It's not fun. Like there's nothing to do. But like with ranked Resurgence, I'm like, dude, I want to grind for this specific rank, or I want these rewards from grinding ranked. So it's like I'm trying to play every day. I'm trying to get my SR up. I think it would fit really, really well here in grief, and it would eliminate the mode kind of dying a little bit. And then of course you could take it a step further and make some more hardcore nerfs and changes in ranked grief that you wouldn't be able to make in the standard playlist for the people that if you want to play that hardcore experience and you want a more fair balanced, no gobblegums, limited augments kind of experience. That's where ranked grief would come into play too. So I think those are my 3 kind of unrealistic, but also not so unrealistic things. I know you wanted to do separates, but I think that Jeff covered my more realistic ones, and then these are the unrealistic items. And
guys, if gobblegums are getting carried over, which I can't even believe that might not be a thing, but
leakers have said they're 100. They're absolutely in the game. Carry forward is more than likely with the gums. But least.
It's all right. Now you need the cookbook. That's it.
Absolutely.
Nobody. Sorry. Hey guys. Hey, the next time I use an exit strategy will be the first time, and I will never be using one. So please let me roll it for something else. Please. That's it.
I talked about this in a video I made the other day with the cookbook. I'm assuming that if they do bring gobblegums forward, they're going to double the pool too for next year. They add in another 6 or 7 of each types of gobblegums at launch. Imagine how fucking watered down the pool is going to be. The current earn rate system is terrible. You don't get shit from the earn rate. Every once in a while you might get a decent gum. I haven't been seeing ultras at all.
I'm get assuming a soda fountain slap on the wrist.
Soda fountain or on the house is best case scenario these days, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it seems like they're gonna, if they do add a lot of gobblegums in at launch, you absolutely need the cookbook. Otherwise, you're never gonna be earning these ultra gums unless they just juice the odds, which I don't see them doing either. I think adding in lower tier gobblegums and a ton of them again for next year is fine with me, especially with carry forward, but there needs to be the cookbook in order to convert those shitty ones you get. Otherwise, you're never going to be earning the gums you want, period. It's going to be there's going to be so many low tier gums that eventually will become classics, but give me the cookbook next year. I think it would be a great way to, let's say, and I'll end after this. Let's say you make it the super Easter egg reward for this game and have it carry forward the next year. People that stop playing Black Ops 6 zombies but are going to get into BO7 zombies will go back and do the Easter eggs that they missed out on in order to get the cookbook.
That's smart.
Let's say these maps carry forward to next year. If you own Black Ops 6, people that are picking up Black Ops 7 that didn't play Black Ops 6 at all or own Black Ops 6 period but might be getting into it next year would then go back and buy Black Ops 6 for the access to those maps in order to get the cookbook for this game. So if you want to sell more copies of the game, if you want to get the Easter egg completion rate up for this game, put the cookbook in as a super Easter egg reward. Carry forward.
absolute genius. I mean, that's logically makes sense to me, but lots to talk about, lots of stuff that we could include for Black Ops 7. Hopefully we get a little bit more concrete news about that and the Reckoning moving forward here in the next couple of weeks. Is only a couple of weeks before the Reckoning is planned to come out. But Clutch Squad, we appreciate you guys hanging out here. If you're still here, hit that like button, comment down below anything you want us to talk about next week for the Community Corner. And like I said at the top of the show, if you're interested in any more extra content behind the scenes, whether it's memberships, whether it's over on Patreon, it's not gonna cost an arm and a leg. We just wanted to gauge some support to see if anyone would be interested in that, whether it has different tier levels, different rewards for, tier 1, tier 2 to tier 3, playing some grief games with me and MZC, whatever we could throw out over there, whatever it may be. If you're interested in that, comment content down below. And like I said, we just can't believe you guys are rocking with us like this. We appreciate it so much. Can't thank you guys enough. MZC, send us home.
Yeah, the whole Patreon thing isn't going to be like a get rich quick kind of thing. It'd be like reinvesting all of that into the podcast, whether it's for a couple of bucks, whether it's for like transitions between topics. I know one of the things that Detonated and DK have over there on their podcast is like when they switch between like the Community Corner could have its own little transition screen that pops up, animated background for the podcast. We really want to keep leveling this up, especially going into Black Ops 7. We got a couple of months to kind of brainstorm and do these types of things, so that's kind of the idea behind the Patreon. Nothing's official yet, nothing's been launched. We're gonna iron everything out before we even do anything, engage some interest before we take that next step forward, but that's just where we're at with that. But yeah, guys, 9 episodes deep. 2 of our most previous episodes with Stanley and the Detonated bunch have gone over 2K, so we appreciate you guys there. We're still getting some views on some of these older podcasts, which is really, really cool to see. We appreciate all the support as always, as we're going into 2.5 months of podcasts, which is insane, because it feels like we just started doing these.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be back for episode 10 already next week. Like MZC said last week, maybe guests in the pipeline. We'll see. If you want us to see us talk to anybody else, comment down below who you want us to collaborate with, and make sure you're staying hydrated. Still hot as hell this week, so make sure you're staying hydrated, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.